The evaluation began not in a combat ring, but in a chamber of pure intellect. Overseer Valerius sat across from Malik, a polished obsidian table between them. On the table's surface, light coalesced into complex, three-dimensional strategy games, historical tactical scenarios, and dense mathematical problems that were the foundational language of the Spire's logistics. "This is the true measure of a being," Valerius stated, gesturing to the shimmering models. "Physical prowess is a tool for enforcers. The masters of the world command with the mind. Let us see if the chaos you embody extends to your cognition." The first test was a classic Spire wargame simulation, a rebellion in a simulated inside sector. Malik was given command of the enforcer units. The expected solution was a textbook, overwhelming Aegis-style suppression: identify the ringleaders, isolate the sector, and crush the dissent with maximum efficiency. Malik's fingers danced over the light table. He didn't move a single enforcer. Instead, he pulled up utility schematics, cross-referenced them with historical resource allocation data for that specific sector, and identified a pattern of systemic water purification failures that correlated exactly with the outbreak of unrest. His solution: he rerouted enforcer units to escort engineering teams to repair the purifiers. He then had the same units publicly distribute the fresh water, framing it not as a concession, but as a scheduled upgrade. The simulated rebellion dissipated within 3 cycles, IST cores eliminated without a single shot fired. Valerius watched, his glacial eyes unreadable. An unorthodox expenditure of resources. The suppression model has a 99.7% success rate. "Your model treats the symptom," Malik replied, his voice calm. "It does not calculate the cause. A 0.3% failure rate, over centuries, represents a significant cumulative instability. You are constantly fighting fires you could have prevented." The next test was a logistical puzzle: optimizing the flow of geothermal energy from the core to the 3 tiers. The Spire's system was a masterpiece of engineering, but Malik saw IST arrogance. It was a waterfall, cascading from the outside down, with deliberate inefficiencies and bottlenecks built in to maintain control. Malik didn't just tweak the flow. He redesigned the entire network topology on the fly, introducing redundant, decentralized microgrids for the inside and even proposing a basic, incentive-based power sharing system for the underground to reduce their desperate raids on critical infrastructure. "The system is designed for control, not for efficiency," Malik stated, as Valerius stared at the stunningly elegant new model. "Your control is your greatest weakness. It makes you predictable. You see the underground as a problem to be managed. I see them as an untapped resource. A man who is not starving is less likely to chew through your power cables." Valerius was silent for a long moment. The boy was not just intelligent, he was perceiving the foundational flaws in their millennia-old societal architecture. It was an intellect that saw systems, not just problems. But the true demonstration of Malik's mind came later, in the solitude of his room. He activated the data chip from the servant. It contained no grand plans, no lists of conspirators. It was a raw, encrypted dump of low-priority Spire data: maintenance schedules for the servo droids, energy consumption logs for the residential wings, and the personnel files of the indentured inside staff. To the Spire, this was meaningless noise. To Malik, it was a symphony of vulnerability. He spent the night not sleeping, but calculating. His mind, honed by the intense focus required for Cage Roo, worked with a terrifying speed. He cross-referenced the droid maintenance schedules with the energy logs, identifying a 47-second window every 73 hours when the surveillance in the Western supply conduit dipped by 3% due to a power reroute for system diagnostics. He analyzed the staff files, not for their assigned duties, but for their backgrounds. He found 3 individuals from the same lower-tier inside sector as his family, all with relatives who had been penalized for non-compliance. He calculated the probability of their resentment at 92.6%. He then began his true work, using the Spire's own public access terminal in his room. Meant for him to study their ways, he didn't access forbidden files. Instead, he wrote a series of seemingly innocuous, self-replicating code snippets. They were designed to latch onto the public announcement system and the environmental controls. He wasn't hacking the system. He was gardening it. His plan was not an escape. It was a proof of concept. The next day, during his physical evaluation, in a vast gymnasium under the watchful eyes of enforcers and censors, he gave the signal. A subtle, pre-arranged shift in his posture, unseen by the cameras but visible to the indentured servant mopping the floor far away. The servant nodded almost imperceptibly. At that exact moment, 3 things happened simultaneously, triggered by Malik's code. 1. The public address system in the Western Supply conduit softly played a 3-second burst of a forgotten folk lullaby from the lower inside sectors. 2. The lighting in the corridor outside Overseer Valerius's office flickered through a specific, rhythmic pattern. 3. The temperature in the main enforcer barracks dropped by precisely 0.5 degrees. Individually, these events were logged as minor system glitches. But together, they were a message, a coordinated demonstration of influence, sent to the nascent resistance the servant belonged to. It was Malik's way of saying, I am here. I see your systems. I can touch them. Overseer Valerius summoned him that evening. The man's ageless composure was finally cracked. A faint line of tension sat between his brows. The anomalies today, Valerius began, his voice dangerously quiet. They were you. Malik didn't deny it. You tested my intellect. I simply applied it. You believe your control is absolute because you monitor for large, rebellious actions. You are not monitoring for poetry in the glitches. You orchestrated that from a locked room under constant surveillance, Valerius said, a hint of bewildered respect breaking through his icy tone. How? You provided the data yourself, Malik explained, his red eyes gleaming with a cold light. Every time you tested me, you revealed your priorities, your logical pathways, your blind spots. You taught me how you think. Predicting your systems was a simple matter of recursion. You see me as a subject to be analyzed. A mistake. I have been analyzing you. He leaned forward, his massive frame suddenly seeming to fill the room not with brute force, but with palpable intellectual dominance. You wanted to archive the cage Rue. You cannot. It is not a set of moves. It is a principle. The principle of the shadow, to flow, to adapt, to find the weakness in the strongest defense. You have applied this principle to my body. I am applying it to your civilization. Malik had turned the evaluation on its head. He was no longer the variable to be solved. He had become the equation that was solving them. He had shown him his physical power on the wasteland. Now, within the heart of their power, he had shown him his mind. And the latter was infinitely more dangerous. The masters of the world could break a rebel. But how did they break a genius who saw the very foundations of their world not as immutable law, but as a flawed design waiting to be optimized, or dismantled? The dragon was not just stretching its claws. It was learning to manipulate the strings of the cage itself. And for the first time, Overseer Valerius felt a chill that had nothing to do with the spire's perfect climate. It was the chill of realizing that the most dangerous weapon in the room was not the one they were trying to study, but the mind that was studying them back. Chapter 6